Hello YouTube, the wind is blowing so hopefully you can actually hear me. I got the wrong lens on the camera, but hopefully I got everything that I need with me to maiden my digital update to my favorite frame, the BDXR. I'm gonna first go back to the studio to show you how that upgrade went, and then we're gonna talk about why I love it and give you some flight footage hopefully.
So I finally received my Caddx Vista kit, which is a product that's not made by DJI, but it's officially licensed. It's a smaller version of their air unit. It comes with a tiny box, and part of the kit is the camera, which is exactly the same as what you get with the regular air unit. An antenna that, if you're like me, you're gonna put somewhere and you will lose it. I have no idea where I put it. I looked everywhere, but this footage that you're watching right now is the only thing left from the antenna. But it uses the regular micro UFL connector, so you can use your own antennas just fine. The unit itself is smaller than the regular unit. It's still mostly a heatsink because this thing generates so much heat. It's incredible. But it's way smaller. The mounting holes are 20 by 20 millimeters. It's slightly larger than that, but it will fit in most even micro builds like 3-inch, 2-inch propeller micros. But I'm gonna use it to upgrade my analog system to a digital. When I got it, I was a little afraid that it's going to overheat, because even the regular DJI unit, when it's just sitting on the table and performing like firmware updates, it gets super hot. And this thing, after I tried it and went through the super long firmware update, it really was hot. Like, it was boiling hot, incredibly hot. But I did it because, like I mentioned, I misplaced the antenna. I did it even without the antenna attached, which is something you should never do, because when it's transmitting, it's actually like transforming all the energy into heat, and it can really damage itself. But luckily it survived my initial poor handling, and it seems to be working fine. When it's flying, the airflow itself is able to cool it perfectly, even when you're transmitting at like 1 watt, which is what I tried, and it works just fine. So don't worry about that. The unit is smaller, but it comes at a price. It does not include the SD card and the onboard DVR. But to be honest, the quality of the DVR is not something to write home about. So omission of it is just fine. Like, you can maybe in some really tiny micro builds, it might be beneficial to have a higher quality recording than your goggles. But at the same time, if you're wanting to have a micro build, you do want something really tiny, and the DVR from the goggles is pretty decent in most occasions. You can still set the European version to the FCC power levels, because even though it does not have an SD card, if you attach it to a computer, it mounts its internal storage as a USB drive, and you can do the same kind of text file trick as you were doing with the regular air units. So my initial impression of the device is very good. Its build quality is decent. It is really tiny. This seems to be the second batch, and it's got a longer cable to the camera, so mounting this will not be a problem in any quad.
So this is my current workhorse. This is the Rotorama Wasp HD version, which essentially is the regular version, but it has all the TPU mounts for the HD stuff. and it's sporting the regular DJI Air unit, and I love it because it's really well balanced. If you have like a 1300 milliamp hour 6S underneath, it's got a really nice center of gravity right at the prop line, and it flies wonderful. The only downside to having a battery under the quad is that you can't just land anywhere, and if you crash somewhere, the likelihood of being able to take off is lower than if you have something like my favorite frame, which is the BDX Racer. It's got a racer in name, but that's because this frame is like, I don't know, four years old, and that was the idea of how drone racing is gonna look like. So it's very light for that time, but just appropriate at this time. It's got very wide arms because we used to run ESCs on the arms. But what I really like about the frame is the aesthetics, and just generally the proportions are just right. It's like, you know, Porsche 911. It's just it's perfect. It's wider than taller, and it is top mount battery style frame, so you can actually land somewhere, and if you flip back, you have a very good chance that you're gonna come back. There's no advantage other than these two. Some people will talk about the balance, the center of gravity, but I'm telling you, this flies like nothing I've ever flown before. So this doesn't fly better, but it's just like, it's a frame that I've had for a long time. So I'm really glad that I took it into the digital age with the Caddx Vista. So I'm gonna give it my first spin, so maiden. The thing on the table was super hot, so I hope that the airflow is going to be able to cool it down, because it was like really burning through the carbon here. So let's see.